If you're like me, you've seen countless videos and articles popping up in your feed asking if AI will end design. And as a design student, I obviously had to ask myself if design as we know it will be still left there once I graduate. But when looking for an answer, it turned out to be a little bit more complicated. I'm probably just like you, someone seeing those recent developments, playing with them and being both excited and terrified. And despite all those articles, I didn't really know what to think. Because whenever some people are panicking and some people say there's nothing to worry about, most of the time it is somewhere in between. But for anyone that missed the recent AI craze, just a small recap of why we are talking about this. One, the introduction of pretty good text-to-image AIs. For example, DALLE 2 and Midjourney, where you put in a prompt and they give you an image, illustration, logo, or any kind of graphic. And in just the last couple of years, they've become scarily good. So good, in fact, that nowadays they changed the entire illustration sphere. The second thing is ChatGPT, a system where you can also input prompts and can get anything, answers for trivia, coding, or a romance novel written for you. And especially ChatGPT led to mass adoption and AI being a mainstream thing. But for us designers, AI has been there for a long time. Using the heating brush in Photoshop, AI. Resizing an image, AI. Rendering video, AI. Stabilizing footage, AI. Our lives and workflows became much easier due to those very nice and easy to use tools. But what we don't think about are the jobs lost due to them. But this is exactly what we're talking about here. Many people being concerned that AI will end design and or their design career. I try to find arguments for and against it, so that we can just make up our own mind about this. When I used to be a kid, I used to be a pretty big history geek. Nowadays, a little less so, but I still love history. And the cool thing about history is that most of the time it repeats. During the Industrial Revolution, new machines threatened the jobs of many people. And it all ended with the Luddites destroying textile factories in protest against the introduction of those machines. During the Great Depression, farmers were protesting the introduction of tractors. They would put a lot of people in manual labor on farms out of jobs. Or the introduction of ATMs, automated teller machines, that caused concern for many bank tellers. And nowadays, all those things are just completely normal to us. And history indicates that whenever there is job loss due to those things, there is new jobs created, basically to a very similar amount. And this is how it has been throughout history. And replacing all those tedious tasks of design execution might not be a bad thing if it helps designers to higher quality jobs and to a position where they are not merely executing design, but actively becoming a decision maker, deciding and advising the customer, more than just sitting there and layouting things in InDesign. And it's basically not unreasonable to think that this will lead to a new peak of design, a new era where designers are basically like wizards, pumping out amazing design, doing it with ease and just be able to create whatever comes to their mind. Doing what so many of us want to do, helping and changing the world to a better. But whenever there's a vision of a utopia, there's also a dystopia. I said that history oftentimes repeats itself. With AI, it might be quite different. Who says that in this case, there's also as many jobs created as lost? And design is expected to not take away entire design jobs, but basically be able to do most of the execution work. So let's say 70 to 80% of design work, making it much more efficient and quick. But what that might mean is that due to this exponential rise in productivity, if the demand for design also doesn't rise exponentially, there will be less and less people needed to perform design jobs. And I imagine you understand what that means. And even though probably a lot of jobs will also be created due to AI, who says those jobs will be in design? What we can make of all of this is that design will probably not die, but be changed pretty much fundamentally. The execution of design, ideation, testing, and many other things will probably become exponentially faster. Repetitive high-skill jobs, low-skill and medium-skill jobs, as well as a lot of positions that are mainly focused on the execution, will most likely be affected. So this buzzword of lifelong learning becomes a big thing. And something that will be very hard to replace designers in is the interaction with the client. Especially because many of us know that clients not always know what exactly they want. And the designers are there to basically consult them and trying to figure out what they want, to deliver it. So designers will most likely become more and more of a consultant to the client, or a medium between the client and a executing AI. I, for my part, am excited for the future. I hope, but also think that there will not be this big dystopia. And I think that current design students have a big potential to learn all those new tools, adapt to them, adapt to the changes, and for us to go into this new era and take advantage of it. But I also imagine that it will be much harder for the current or older generation of designers to adapt, to relearn, and to give up all of the things they specialized in. But I also don't think that all of this will happen just overnight, but it will take at least a decade of a big transition period, or even longer. Obviously, adoption of AI right now is super high and exciting, but let's see how it goes on. And maybe I'm gonna eat my own words. But what I will focus on nonetheless is just the consulting, the soft skills, and those things that will become important during the AI rise, but also beforehand, because they are just important skills for a designer in general. And because I hope you became excited for the future now, here's some AI tools to look into if you haven't already. First off, obviously DALLE 2 and Midjourney. Here you can put in text prompts and generate pretty amazing images. Right now they are free to use and pretty amazing to play around with. So if you haven't already, give it a try for sure. Because in my opinion, they give a great look into the future of what might come. The second one is the big boy in the room, ChatGPT. Just start by having a conversation with it and be surprised of how good it actually works. And then maybe try to do some basic tasks with it, like writing a persona for you or writing some basic code. It is far from perfect right now, but really, what is perfect? It's pretty goddamn amazing. Next up, we have Runway, AI for photo editing. Basically like the next generation of Photoshop. And then something called Astria or Astria, something I thought was very interesting for us as industrial designers, which can create hero shots for the design you created. But learning the AI tools is not the only thing you need to worry about, but also avoiding the things that keep you as a designer from making the impact you should make. More on that here. See you there.